Welcome everyone to the information session for the 4+1 pathway with QMSS. My name's Claire. I'm the Beyond Barnard representative for today, but most of our session will be run by our QMSS colleagues who you'll hear from in just a few moments. A couple quick things about the 4+1 pathways in general. These are partnerships between Barnard and master's programs at Columbia through which Barnard students get early provisional admission, and then they can start taking credits towards that master's degree while still enrolled full-time at Barnard. So it gives you a head start, saves you hopefully a little bit of time, a little bit of money while you're still enrolled at Barnard and benefiting from the resources of this institution while taking credits towards that master's degree so you can complete it in just one additional year afterwards. Beyond Barnard serves as sort of an administrative function in these pathways, as well as a liaison between the college and the Columbia program. And we also provide advising both for students who are thinking about applying to the pathways and aren't sure whether it's a good fit for their long-term career goals, or aren't sure what their long-term career goals are, but want to know how this pathway might fit into those. And then we also help when you are applying, we can help review personal statements, or talk you through the difference between a resume and a CV, or if you aren't sure how to ask a professor for a letter of recommendation, we do advising on all of those topics. And of course, we also do general graduate school advising and are available for lifelong career services advising. So Beyond Barnard, always here to help. If you have questions about the 4+1 and you aren't sure whether they're questions for QMSS or questions for Barnard or questions for a faculty member, you can always send them to beyondbarnard@barnard.edu and we'll point you in the right direction if it's not us, and then we'll answer it if we do know how to do it. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues from QMSS.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Greg Irick. I'm the director of QMSS, which stands for Quantitative Methods in the Social Sciences. We'll talk all about that in a second. I wanted to make sure the rest of the QMSS team gets a chance to introduce themselves. So I don't know, Elena, you want to?
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Elena Krumova. I am the assistant director here in the program. I am also a lecturer. I lead the master's thesis. I advise students. I work on partnerships for the program, and many other smaller things. Nice to meet you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Tess. I'm the program coordinator for QMSS. I handle a lot of the operational and administrative elements of the program, as well as serve as the advisor to the student club, which we'll talk about a bit later, but I am typically here to walk you through everything you need to do to graduate and any other questions you have while you're in the program.
All right, thank you guys. So first off, let me say thank you again for coming and let you know that we have been incredibly happy to be part of this 4+1 program for a number of years. We've really had wonderful students come to us from Barnard in the past, and we're really happy to see that there's some interest in continuing that way. And so what I wanted to do briefly was just to provide a little bit of an overview of the general kind of program that QMSS is, a little bit of what we try and offer, and then we'll try and get into the specifics as it works for the 4+1 program as well. And then I know that Elena and Tess are going to have some things they want to say too, and we want to hear your questions. And so I don't know which years everybody is on the call yet, if you're a sophomore or a junior or even a senior. That will affect really just the timeline for when you would apply to us. And so for some folks, if you're seniors, first semester, you'd be looking to apply very soon, so that you could sort of start to know how to plan for your spring semester as a senior. And if you're a junior, you would have longer time. You'd be looking to apply the standard application deadline, which is in January. I'm sure, Tess, if you wanted to, you could put in the chat just our website, which will have all that kind of info on it as well. And so, that would be a difference. But overall, the program itself, we're really, would be very excited to have you join us whenever that would make sense for you. From my standpoint, I think QMSS is a pretty unique program that's really meant to be valuable to you. We take the best of the social sciences, psychology, economics, sociology, political science, um, and history. We take the best of data science, the best of statistics, and we really try and distill all of that down into a course of study that allows you to learn the essential, valuable aspects of those different perspectives. So we're an interdisciplinary program that we bring all of those different perspectives together. And that's really one of the key aspects. I'm proud to say as well that we have begun to incorporate AI into a lot of our thinking and methodology and consideration. I would say that we're really looking to be AI forward in terms of that as a new technology, a new technique, a new factor that goes into play across all of those disciplines. And so we'll talk more about that, but that plays a role in terms of the research that we might do, the theses you might work on, the practicum projects you might deal with, considering the ethics and the data for good aspects of those things. So there's a lot happening in that space as well. Overall, the program, as I said, is really meant to be individualized for you. And so it's in large part meant to provide you with what you want to learn. It's meant to provide you with the skills and the base to do what you want to do next. And so we really work on that. Now, you might think that's a lot to do in a relatively short period of time, and you would not be wrong. But I will say to you that we have been doing this for 25 years, more than 25 years. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And so I can tell you that we have really refined this approach over that long period of time. We've also refined that approach across multiple revolutions in industry, in data, in methodology. And we've always been able to adapt to make sure that what we're providing you is the most useful, most innovative, most cutting edge part of those different fields. And so we really work very hard on trying to do that. As I said, we have continued to do that in the context of AI. I have to say a number of our alumni now are leading AI initiatives at larger firms. They are, whether it's an AI architect or an AI an analytics director, or whether they're actually building some of these models from scratch, they're really adapting again to that new space. In fact, overall, we have the benefit of over 1,000 alumni from the program, and they are fantastic. And you find them in all sorts of fields, whether that's finance, consulting, media, tech. We have dozens of startups that have come from our alums as well. So they're everywhere. And thankfully, they're really very supportive of the program. They come back and give talks. They come and let us know about opportunities. They share with us what we should be teaching and how best to make sure that we're staying at the cutting edge. So we're really, really lucky for that. And so we've been able to do this for 25 years for over 1,000 people, and we'd love to do it for you too. And so no matter where you're coming from, I can guarantee you we've seen it before. And I can tell you that we're very happy to work with you, to advise you, and design really your own particular path for you to get where you want to get to and become what you want to become. And as I said, I've seen this over and over again. Within the context of a very short period of time, a year and a half, students have really massively changed or accelerated their career trajectories in the program. In terms of the kind of specifics of that, what do you do if you're a part of QMSS? A couple of things I would say. So we do this through some core classes where we bring everybody together to get on the same page. We're very excited to have dozens of different majors who join QMSS. We have folks from computer science, from statistics, from pure math, for applied math, history, geography, English, everywhere. We have folks who come to the program, and we have some core classes that allow everyone to sort of make sure we're using the same kind of language. We make sure we have the same concepts. And that allows you to sort of have that strong base to build off of. I know we'll talk a bit about one of those courses in particular. I think Elena will talk a little bit about the thesis course as one of those courses as well. At the same time, we have dozens of electives that we offer through QMSS. And so those are in all sorts of things. We have machine learning, advanced machine learning, natural language processing, applied data science, data visualization, modern data structures, geographic information systems, social network analysis. Oh, I could go, Bayesian statistics, it keeps going. And so these are all designed really specifically for our master's students. And they're made in a way that really works to be applied, that allows you to kind of understand the concepts, but also start to get used to using them, see how they get utilized both, in academia and beyond. And so those are really fantastic. We have an amazing group of faculty who teach with us, many of whom are themselves directors of data science around the city and really love our students and love to teach them. And so come back year over year to offer these amazing kind of classes. Beyond that, we are an interdisciplinary program. So we are very happy for you to take courses all around the university. A lot of them happen in the cognate departments, so political science, economics, psychology, things like that. But we have folks who will take courses typically across a few hundred different courses around the university at every school you could think of. So Mailman School of Public Health, Teachers College, School of Social Work, School of Art and Architecture, you name it. And so you're welcome to sort of really specialize in whatever kind of courses fit what you want to get out of the program above and beyond all the things that we're going to offer. And then, as I said, ultimately, we want this all to come together where you have a portfolio of projects that show what you can do, that sort of point to your skills, your thinking, your ability to see a project through from beginning to end. And then I'll say a last couple things, and then I'll stop talking for a while. I would say we are incredibly lucky to have these resources like an amazing alumni base. We're incredibly lucky to have resources like amazing faculty. We're amazingly lucky to have amazing staff like Elena and Tess. And we're also incredibly lucky to have an amazing group of students every year who join us. We are incredibly lucky to have them. They are motivated, interesting, they're collaborative. We get to see them in all sorts of contexts while they're here. And they're just a great group of folks to be around. And, as I said, we've had great luck with Barnard students joining that cohort as well. And so we really try and make it something where there's a strong sense of community, where in fact it's fun to get your master's degree. You're going to do a lot of hard work, but it's really going to be something that you can share with others and build off of and learn from others. And so the last thing I'll start to point to, but we can talk more about it, is obviously in the context of what Claire had said, the benefit of the 4+1 is that you get to join this community. And you can join while you're still finishing up your undergraduate degree. We'll start to be able to give you advice about courses that would make sense to start with, that would allow you to build up to the master's program when you would join us full time. Depending on the circumstances, you might be in a position to have about 25% of the credits you would need for the master's program be able to be gotten while you were a Barnard student. And as Claire said, that could potentially help with the time that you would spend in the program, the money you might spend in the program. And so those are some of the advantages. We've had a really lot of great success with students who kind of have a strong undergraduate experience. They really like the Columbia ecosystem. They have faculty they like. They have, kind of a world that they're very used to. And we're sort of able to add that extra piece to it, and sort of continue your growth, hopefully kind of accelerate your growth relative to where it is before. We can definitely talk about sort of more of the particulars of how that works and other things you might be thinking about. But as I said, overall, that's sort of what we're offering. I should say one final thing, which I know a number of you have reached out to us and wanted to start a conversation, which is fantastic. We have held off a little bit on that just because we wanted to have this presentation first to kind of get some information in front of you. That way, when we follow, when we have our conversations, you'll have a little bit more of our side of it to build off of. So we'll obviously want you to reach out to us and continue that conversation. Let us know what you need from us or questions you might have. But this session, I think, will be very helpful to sort of orient us all to it. All right, I'll stop there. I only talked about some things, but I'm sure Elena and Tess, you might want to say a few more things before we kind of open it up, maybe for questions. I don't know, Elena, you want to say a few more things?
Yeah, of course. All right, so a few things were mentioned here that I want to just expand a little bit upon. That there's a thesis that all the students who graduate from the program write. This is a great opportunity to really go into something that's of interest to you and demonstrate how you apply the skills that you've learned here to an area of your choosing with the data that you choose and the methods that you choose. There's strong support for advising from various sources. There's a class you take. So that's one way to build a portfolio of work. Of course, there's many other ways of building a portfolio of work at the program, which is something that's very important for when you want to apply for jobs later on. You should have a few projects at least. So of course, any class that you take here, almost all the classes give you an opportunity to write a paper. So any paper you write could be part of a project portfolio like that. Especially if you have a particular interest in a particular area, let's say health or education or marketing or finance, right? You could use these opportunities to build around those, within those fields, right? Around different topics in those fields. So the other particular place that offers opportunities for projects is our practicum class. We have every semester a number of partners that we work with. So we established Innovation Lab as this kind of umbrella for all partnerships that we have. And we have partnered with quite a few organizations, both small and big, for-profit and non-for-profit, in a number of different sectors. And each semester we offer 4, 5, sometimes even 6 projects from which you can choose depending on what particular thing they're trying to achieve, right? But within that semester, there's a team of students that works under the guidance of the instructor and meeting with the partner organization regularly to get advice and direction. And so this is another great opportunity to learn. This semester, for example, we are working with IBM. We're working with the Census Bureau, which is actually, I think, the 7th year in which we have been working with the Census Bureau. They keep coming back to us. And then we have 2 startups, one in the area of AI and mental health, and the other in the area of AI and education. There will be a number of different projects for the spring semester and so on. But just to give you a snapshot of some of these partners we have had, we have worked with the UN, various arms in the UN. We have worked with government organizations in DC, in other areas. We have worked with a lot of consulting firms. IBM is one. It's not technical, but we work with the consulting arm of the company, KPMG, smaller ones, Ecometrics, and some other smaller ones. We've also have worked with kind of political consultants. We have worked with financial companies. We have worked with nonprofits in education, in health. We've worked with other universities, such as Rutgers, and a number of other ones. So I can post actually the link to Innovation Lab where you could review some of those affiliated organizations, and there's some case studies that will give you a sense of the projects that we have worked on. Of course, there's quite a few more. We also have a mentoring program. We have consistently alumni returning to us with projects that they want to work on and they would love to mentor a student. Either alumni or friends of the program come, and currently we have a couple of those. So lots of things to choose from and take advantage of. I always say to all the incoming students that one of the things that sets apart a good student from a great student is how much they take advantage of the resources that we offer here. And there's a lot of that, right? We also have regular speaker series. Greg mentioned alumni come back and give talks. A lot of them are professors, right? We have about a third of the cohort being interested in pursuing PhD in different programs, either immediately after QMSS or some years down the line. Some of them, come back as professors to give talks. Others are in industry and they have worked in a number of years. And since they are trained in the latest cutting edge technologies, they end up leading groups and organizations that like AI, for example, but before AI, there was, other cutting edge things, whether it's Bayesian stats or social networks analysis or really just generally years ago, machine learning, right? So they come and give talks and also oftentimes even give workshops, right? They will give training on something, whether it's how to use GitHub or how to use LinkedIn for networking properly, right? They're very willing to come and give these sorts of workshops and talks. So we've had those very regularly every week. And we also have a series on ethical AI. That is something that we like to focus on as well. It's not a special course. It's just interspersed in the program in the various courses. And also as part of the series we have. So that's something, to chew on, but that's enough for now.
Maybe I think Tess, you might have a couple things to add as well.
Yeah, and similar to what Elena was saying, there's a lot of great opportunities outside of the classroom with QMSS. You can do internships outside of the classroom and get academic credit for them, which many students do. Often students will intern with the UN, for example, as Elena mentioned, but you can get academic credit for it, which is really great to get some real world experience. And then QMSS also has a research assistantship program where PIs from the university in Barnard will reach out to us and we match them with students to do research with them. And we've worked with dozens of professors, PIs from all different departments. So we have some at the business school right now, some at the School of Social Work, Barnard professors. We have some of our very own QMSS faculty are the researchers, and a bunch of different topics too that really are able to match the interests of the students and also the skill levels. So that's always a great thing that students are able to do each semester, and it's offered in each semester as well for students to be a part of. And then beyond that, we also have a student group that I mentioned called Kaiser, and they often put on different events for the students, whether that be talking about, pressing topics within AI and social science and quantitative methods, or, just get-togethers for the community building of the cohort at large, getting to be graduate student in a big city. It's nice to get to know your classmates. So they get to do social events, and they'll also do networking events with our wonderful alumni. They'll partner with the Alumni Association. So you get to do some meet and greets, get to know each other. And it's really a wonderful asset of the community, I would say, for QMSS, and really helps, make it what it is. So those are just some other things that you get to be a part of at QMSS.
Great, thank you, Tess. Thank you, Elena. All right, so we're happy to take some questions if you want. If you want to put them in the chat, or you want to kind of raise your hand, and we'll go from there. Yes, Brianna.
I apologize for the noise in my background. If you can hear it, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having this info session. I just had a question about skill sets in general. So I understand that QMSS has different pathways for its students interested in different things, but I was wondering what type of skills do QMSS students usually leave like their core classes with?
Mhm. Great question. Yes. So I'll actually answer one other question before I answer that. So one question we get is in terms of the skills you might come into the program with, or what we're looking for in terms of prerequisites. And the good news there is that we're not looking for any specific prerequisites. And so you don't have to have had training in your undergrad in any particular thing. You don't need to be trained in statistics or a particular kind of method before. All we're really looking for from folks who are joining us is that they're sort of interested in studying things, at least in part, from a quantitative lens. And so as long as you're interested in understanding the world through sort of quantitative data and through methods that are supportive of that, you can definitely go with that. On the other end, in terms of the skills that they would come away with, so certainly in the context of the core classes, you'd be exposed to sort of the workhorses in data analysis. So that would be sort of data exploration, data visualization, regression analysis, sort of some advanced regression analysis, as well as, very importantly, in terms of research design. So what goes into thinking about how to answer a given question you might have or might be given to you. How do I set that up? Is that better answered through being an experiment, or is that better answered through a survey? Is that better answered through me observing behaviors and making note of it and collecting that data myself? Things of that sort. And so you would be working on that. In the context of the core classes that have to deal with research seminar, we bring in speakers who can speak to the range of what you could do with data and research. And so we have, as Elena said, alumni who are professors. We have alumni who are, researchers in almost every field. And then also we have a lot of kind of friends and family related to the program who come in and are just, they're either people who we know from one way or another. And so you get a sense of like kind of the breadth of what you could do with research. And so a lot of that is to open people's minds that there's a lot of different ways to approach it. So that is something that happens along with some additional skills that we think are kind of fundamental in terms of how you conduct research, how you communicate research, things like that. And then the last set of skills will be in the context of what Elena had said for the thesis. So the thesis course, you would be actually sort of beginning to end. Every aspect of this would be decided by you. What's the question? What's the data? What's the method? What's the hypothesis? What are you finding? How do you communicate that? How do you visualize it? How do you organize it? All those aspects as well. And that is typically something that our students, as Elena said, are really proud of doing that thesis and are always asked about, when they're looking for jobs and things. And so that's in the core part of the curriculum. And then beyond that, there's the electives. And so the electives will teach you potentially skills in machine learning, advanced machine learning, natural language processing, social network analysis, geographic information systems, databases, APIs, data science, you name it, Bayesian statistics. So those would be sort of on top of those kind of core skills. You would potentially, pick and choose which ones mattered for your kind of next steps. And then beyond that is all these sort of things that Columbia in general offers as courses that you might want to learn from too. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Okay, looks like we might have a question from Jennifer.
Hi, professors. I have a question about the workload of this program because for me personally, I'm a junior transfer, and maybe in senior year, I still need a big portion of time on requirements in order to graduate.
Mhm.
So I wonder if getting into this program will require a lot of time for me, other than my previous bachelor's degree program.
Great question. It's something that in general, we have a variety of students who are coming from different backgrounds. We have part-time students in the program who are working while they're doing the degree. And so we also have folks who might be joining, who are doing their undergraduate courses as well. And so the overall point is to say that we would advise you in terms of, based on your kind of skill set, based on what you're taking as other classes, we could recommend courses that might require more or less of a given set of skills for you. So some things you might be more familiar with or comfortable. They might be more kind of extensions of things that you're familiar with, in which case that would be something that would be kind of more straightforward to handle. If something's completely new and it would be a big lift, we might recommend you wait for that until you're actually part of the program. That would be a little bit more time for you to develop that, things like that. And so I'd say the main thing is we would absolutely, what we definitely don't want to do is we don't want to slow your momentum. We don't want you to lose your kind of your spirit. It's, as I said, this is meant to be fun but hard, and we don't want it to just be hard. And so obviously from that standpoint, we would sort of want to manage that. And we do have, within the given courses, some trying to tax different parts of your brain. And so we're happy to sort of recommend maybe a proper order given whatever else you're trying to finish up or take at Barnard at the same time. So we're sort of happy to work with you on that. And I'm happy to say, folks have generally, made it through the other side, pretty well. And so, that's a testament to the quality of the students who join us as well, but we're also really in it with you along the way.
Okay, thank you so much.
I don't know, Elena, do you want to add something?
One more thing I'm going to add is that, yes, it is a steep learning curve, but as Greg mentioned, everybody ends up making it, which is a great testament to you all and the time you put in it. There is a resource we provide, which is called Data Camp, for kind of modeling and coding, learning at your own pace that nobody is monitoring, nobody's looking what you're doing there. So it is entirely for your use, but very useful because it has a very wide variety of things you can take. And it's kind of done, like I said, at your own pace, but also gives you a small lesson and a small test, small lesson and a small test. So it's very incremental, very easy to use. So just to mention another resource, but of course we have tutoring every Friday afternoon that students can use and also, work together a little bit on their homework on Friday afternoons. But we have a PhD student who's been tutoring for a couple of years now. Of course, TAs for every class are there also to help. And anytime we see that there's a need for some additional workshops, we generally really try to provide those as well. And we have another resource, a tutor-like resource, who you can always reach out to and say, hey, I need help with figuring this GitHub out, that they can help. So lots of resources along with the requirement, the expectation.
It sounds very flexible.
Elena mentioned we have sort of a tutoring and study hall on Friday. We also have snacks there too. So it's not just studying, it's come for the snacks.
And always coffee. Coffee is always there.
So again, everything is meant to be sort of in proportion. We really, we understand very much where you're coming from. We want to support you. So great question. And then it looks like we have a question from Dory.
No.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Alena, and thank you, George. I have a question about it's kind of more specific. So I'm currently a senior in the fall semester. I study psychology. I'm really interested in QMSS. So I think this is a very specific topic for a senior who's just starting to prepare now. What is your best advice of approach for just first thing first, what should I do right now if I want to start applying? And second of all, I know we mentioned Mailman Public School of Health a little bit. So although I'm really attracted to the QMSS statistics and data quantitative stuff, I also know that it's really flexible. So how does it look like if a student wants to also take classes potentially from the Mailman School? Have you had any experience with that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, great question. So the good news is you have a bit of time. And so Tess, I'm not sure exactly what the deadline is for the seniors, but it's I think early December, I believe. No, but yeah, middle of November. So you have a little bit. I think we'll give you an answer by I think mid to early December. So you have a few weeks to put it together. The good news is that you're doing it in the context of the Columbia ecosystem, and so we're sort of going to be very familiar with lots of things that you'd be sharing with us. And so if it's something you want to try and you think it might be useful, then obviously you can feel free to try even at this point. And so again, how it will depend a little bit how much of your undergraduate you have left to complete and so on, what you'll do with your spring semester. But theoretically, we would start to advise in terms of any classes you might want to take in the spring as your final semester that might start to kind of relate or count towards your QMSS degree. In terms of more generally what you want to try and do in terms of applications, we can talk a little bit about that maybe, just in terms of what we're looking for from folks. I've mentioned a little bit earlier that we're not looking for anything in particular with regard to prerequisites or things like that. We're very open-minded and we really benefit from folks who come from different pathways to QMSS. And as an interdisciplinary program, we want to be very supportive of that. And so, what we are looking for in general is that you, as I said, are sort of excited to work with kind of quantitative data in general, that you have some thoughts of what you might want to learn in the program, what you might want to do next. Again, we know that a lot of folks will use the program as a means to kind of sort out what makes the most sense to you. You have maybe a few things you're interested in or a few ways you could go. And obviously a part of the program's benefit is that you kind of practice in a safe environment with us, figure out what you like and don't like, figure out what makes sense. And, we can support that, wherever you want to go. And so from our standpoint, a big part of that is sort of your statement of purpose, sort of what you're looking, where you've come from, what brings you to QMSS, what you want to do maybe afterwards, and talk through that, as something that we should know. That's a big part of it. I think maybe, I don't know, Elena, if you wanted to talk about kind of letters of recommendation as another aspect of something we look into.
Yeah, so we look holistically at things. So the GRE, for example, is not mandatory. Submit it if you think it helps your case. But we do look carefully at your statement of purpose and the letters of recommendation and any sample work that you have completed as indicators, and of course transcripts, your coursework, just as indicators of your ability to handle the workload and to learn fast, rather than expecting that you have already learned some of those things, right? But I think it is helpful for yourself to figure out, do I actually enjoy working with data, right? Do I like sitting in front of a computer and digging in and wrangling data and so on? So if you haven't taken any courses like that, maybe, try one out, even if it's not for a letter grade, just to see, or see any online courses that you might take. Yeah, if you are applying now and you're getting a response and in the spring you're thinking about registering, there's a number of classes you could take, 2 or 3 from QMSS, such as data analysis, for example, which is a required class, and then transfer them over once you matriculate in the fall to us. That they don't count toward your BA degree, right? So you have to have the room, so to speak, on your schedule for extra classes. So everything else that you're doing should be completing that BA graduation requirement, because these QMSS classes will not count towards that. So, but speak to your Barnard advisor about that. Okay. Does that answer your question, Dory?
Yes, thank you. So if I have already taken the intro to data analysis class, but it does count towards my psychology degree, so would you advise towards taking another alternative data analysis class to fill the gap, maybe?
I would say, in terms of the specifics, you should email us and we'll give you a more proper answer.
Thank you.
Just so we don't sort of confuse ourselves along the way, but we'll follow up with you for sure. We can give you advice about that at this point.
Thank
Absolutely. You. So you should let us know you're interested and sort of give us a little bit of context for your situation, and then we can go back and forth and nail that for you. I would say 2 more things just in the context of Dory's question. One is, for the letters of recommendation, again, what we want to see for that is really people who know you well. So a course that you took that you felt like you were able to, participate and do well in and produce good work, that's the kind of thing we're looking for. And so, it doesn't necessarily even have to be, we know that you might have done well in courses that are not strictly quantitative. That's fine. If it's a class that you felt like you were, showing off all of your thought process and your, kind of communication skills and your interest and your passion, those are great people to get recommendation letters from for sure as well. As Elena said, we'll kind of take this in its totality for sure. And then with regard to mailmen, school public health, and areas like that, we absolutely have folks who do that. We have people who go on for PhDs in epidemiology and biostatistics. They like it so much. So absolutely, that is a live option. We can advise with regard to courses up at Mailman that are kind of relevant. There's courses that make a lot of sense frequently in the context of big data, things like bioinformatics, things like, as I said, biostatistics. These are often courses that, are really wonderful to take up at Mailman. There's a shuttle that will go every kind of few minutes up between the two campuses. So folks do take advantage of it for sure. So we have experience with that. We can definitely give you some direction as you want to flesh out your kind of your time at QMSS. That's totally doable for sure. Okay. And then I think Brianna might have her hand up as well. Yeah.
So I understand that one of the many pros of the 4+1 program is that my financial aid from Barnard helps to cover my last year, and then going into the actual program, it's not covered anymore. Are there any other financial support options when I'm matriculating into QMSS, scholarships, etc.?
Great question. Yeah, so we have a handful of relatively small scholarships that every applicant is considered for. And so for some students that will, make a difference and be very supportive. In addition, we have the RA program, which Tess talked about. That is a paid RA-ship. And so that if you're matched with a faculty member and you're doing work for their projects, you'll be paid as an RA for that. In addition, we have at some point in your time at QMSS, you're eligible to apply to be a teaching assistant for classes that you're comfortable TAing for, and so that provides additional support in that fashion as well. And so those are a few things along the lines that we can sort of potentially offer to folks to help finance their time with us. In addition, we're obviously happy to sort of be on the lookout for other opportunities that you might want to apply for that go beyond QMSS, whether those are at the level of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences or the level of Columbia, or potentially organizations outside that are willing to sponsor students in their studies as well. And so we're happy to kind of put all those things in front of students and have those sort of be additional ways to support their studies for sure. Great question. Other questions? Yes.
Hi. You may call me Sally because my first name is really hard to read. Yeah. Actually, I'm a sophomore right now, and still I haven't declared my major yet, and I'm exploring the major of applied mathematics and computer science. There is maybe little way off because I'm trying to manage the workload, and I wonder, should I pick the combined major like math and CS? So, so for me right now, I have so many uncertain factors. I just wonder, do you have any recommendation for sophomore, um, what course can we take for those years in order to prepare for the QSS QMSS coursework?
Great question. I mean, I'd say the short answer is don't have us guide your more immediate choices. I think that which you sounds like you're doing. I think any of that would be really great work that you would do in advance of joining us, and we would, you know, be happy to see that. I would lean more on your current, you know, your advisors at Barnard who in those different departments,
Yes.
and sort of let them guide you in the more kind of immediate term about what they would recommend as your next steps. And then I think all of that is just whatever they would decide, I think would all really point in the same direction towards QMSS. And so, you know, I would say, but if all else being equal, you know, I would say, you know, I think there's definitely some advantages of working sort of with QMSS program. The QMSS program is, you know, applied. We tend to do applied work with data, and so you know, to the degree which you're sort of, you can work with, take a course where you might sort of work with data that you might collect, or you might be sort of putting together and merging and sort of trying to tell kind of stories with it or answer problems or various research questions with data. I think that would be really useful. And so whether that happens in the statistics department or whether that happens in you know, applied math, or whether that happens in economics, or whether that happens in urban studies, or wherever it might be, you know, that would be great. So one thing to be on the lookout for is, I'd just say, you know, kind of interacting with real data is something that, you know, we're sort of, you know, we're all going to do in QMSS. And so just make sure you've seen that and done that and you like that, as Elena said, I think would be great. But I think the particulars are, you know, I would 100% trust your Barnard advisors.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for your advice.
Thank you. Any other questions or considerations at the moment? You guys have put us through our paces, I must say. I don't know, anything, Elena and Tess, anything else that you think would be useful for folks to be thinking about, or the frequently asked questions we get from the Barnard folks before we let everybody go?
Yeah, I think in general, what you just last said is to try and work with data in some form along the way, so that you test yourself in terms of what interests you have. And I don't mean working always with quantitative data in undergraduate degree, right? If you're a psychology major, you could be doing, you know, any number of things that are research oriented, but are not necessarily quantitative data, but any sort of applied approach where you have a question and you have to find the right answer, and you're looking for some sort of data and you're collecting it, or you're wrangling it, or any of that is something that is a clear indicator that this is something that is good fit for you.
Well, we might, if there's not any other questions, I might just say one final thing and we'll let you go. You can get back to your days. I wanted to say, yes, any questions you might have, absolutely reach out to us through qmss@columbia.edu. You can go check out our website as well, and that will have a lot of information on it. But reach out to us with any questions you might have. As I said, hopefully this has sort of jump-started any sort of advising that we would do with you, and you're being in pretty good shape. And then obviously, if something drew you to our program, that's a good sign that maybe there's a fit there, and we would love to explore that. As I said, we've been incredibly lucky to have such amazing students come to us from all of the undergraduate schools at Columbia, for sure. And likewise, if this talk sounds, you know, this sort of stuff sounds interesting to anybody who wasn't here, your friends, your classmates, let them know. We're very happy to have, you know, others find out about us as well. And if you think there might be a fit among some other of your, of such folks, let them know as well, and we'll go from there. But we're really, really happy to have a chance to talk to you, and we really appreciate you taking time to think about this and ask us questions. That's what we're here for sure.
And as a rejoinder to that, if you're ready to apply, you don't have really any further questions, you just want to file, you know, if you're a senior and you're applying now, just there's going to be a question somewhere there about did you get an advising session? You can count this meeting right now where you were able to ask questions and get information as this advising session.
Okay, I think that's it. Thanks everyone, and thanks so much to our QMSS colleagues for your time today. And yeah, feel free to follow up via email if you have additional questions that we didn't cover today. I think that's it.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Claire.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.